Good evening, everybody. I'm Andre Gadera, the chair of the Amherst Conservation Commission. Today is the 11th of March, 2026, and we're holding our first meeting of the month. Present here is our all commissioners except for who are we missing again? I'm sorry.
Tina Smith.
And Aaron Jock for the town, and Dave is out today. Um, Starting with our chair's report, as of March 9th, the draft status has been upped from mild to significant drought. Um, Today, we will not be holding any hearings. We'll be having a discussion of the conservation land management policies and regulations, trying to work our way through everything that we have there. I think we were up to page, is it 14 before? And hoping that we can make it through at least through the beaver regs. Um, we have a good group of folks here with excellent suggestions here. Let's see. I did want to discuss come back to ask a couple questions on Gull Pond, on the dam breach and the emergency when it comes down to the beaver issues. Um, and I guess we weren't, I had asked for the mowing plan for the town. Aaron, do you know anything about the status of that?
Yes. So I drafted it. Dave reviewed it and edited, and then also Brad Bordewick, our
Yep.
land manager, reviewed it, and he provided some edits. So I integrated all of the proposed changes and came up with sort of a semi-final version, which I sent to Dave yesterday, and I'm just waiting for the green light from him to share it with you. But it's otherwise in it's getting to the point where we'll be ready to share it with you. I suspect before the next meeting we'll have it ready to share.
Right. Oh, that'll be good. Sarah, you have a question?
Yeah, Aaron, when we look at the compiled thing, I think it would also be helpful to have a red line versus your original. I'd like to see what your draft looked like, please.
I I would second that. Um, Okay, so we're waiting then for I just wanted to make sure that we're keeping track of some of the things that we're waiting for. One of them is that is the mowing plan. Another which we had begun to discuss was a um, a plan for beaver dams and uh, breaching and so on that I had mentioned in our last meeting that Dave said he would be getting at some point. And I guess I wanted to bring up a few items here. One of them being, how much, uh, by a show of hands, how much of you has had training for the Conservation Commission duties that we have? Bruce and Carol. Okay. That's not many of us. What I've found is Dave had sent me some sites for regulations, including the Wetlands Protection Act itself. And I found that there are funds that we can be using, um, which is essentially it's the wetlands filing funds, or the fee from all the fees that people who file. We should have that at our disposal. And just the very fact that I put my hand up, but not because I have been trained. We only have two people who've been trained here. I started 5 years ago, I think, something like that, maybe four. But it's a long time to be on without any training, and I'm here as the chairperson. Um, so I would like to find a way that we can get that we can access those fees. And unfortunately, Dave's not here to ask because that was my plan, is to ask a few of these questions. For example, we should be able to use some of these monies for training. We should be able to use them for manuals. Carol, you have a manual that was loaned to you. I asked Aaron how many manuals the town has. It's two. We should each have a manual to guide us through this, because some of the stuff that you've said, Carol, you were right on, and you had all the information in front of you. And some pamphlets. I mean, I've looked through and I see where there are other towns that put out pamphlets to their newest um, uh, residents. When people buy a house, they give them these pamphlets about wetlands and stuff. Uh, we're missing opportunities here. We're missing opportunities to ensure that folks are aware of not just that they're this and that and the other regulation, but why they're there. We should be able to do these things, and I'm actually surprised that that here I am after 5 years finding this stuff out, and I'm not excited about that. But I would like us all to get some training, um, so that we're not so that we at least have a good idea of what we're doing here. And so maybe I can ask Aaron some of these questions on the funding and so on, or if not, then we wait till Dave comes back. But these are some questions that need to be answered. Carol.
Hi, I'm really glad you brought that up. So, all right, I don't have much training. I've taken one of the Mac courses, um, and I'm signed up for two more. But I had, since I'm not a professional engineer or whatever, I was really interested in getting some training. When I asked Dave on a couple of occasions, I was told there was no money in the budget for this. And I'm aware that there are these fees accruing, and evidently they go into the general fund.
They can't. By law, they're not supposed to.
Well, that's what I was told.
Okay.
But so first of all, Mac has a scholarship with to fund new members of these commissions to take 4 courses, I think it is, for free. And if you look at their site, there's about, okay, there are 5 in all, and maybe 3 are being offered this spring and a couple more in the fall. But they go through the whole cycle of 5 of them in a year. And then they have advanced courses. They generally cost about $65 a course. And if you're a member, it's somewhat less. And then there are, a number of publications.
Well,
This big book is not cheap. I kind of thought yeah, we should all have access to this information
Yeah.
and this training. And I
Well,
agree.
thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. I think what we'll do is get some answers and find a way to make that money go to or some of that money come to help us do our job. I Yeah, I think there's a lot that we don't know, a lot that I didn't know. And yeah, it shouldn't it, we should have access to knowledge. Um anyway, Aaron?
When you polled everyone, I didn't raise my hand, but I have done um, the basic and advanced certification through MACC, and I've attended the conference numerous times and throughout my career, and also presented there. I just wanted to share that it is a really excellent opportunity. They also do lunch and learns. If you they send out opportunities for lunch and learns periodically, which are kind of nice if you don't have the time to do one of the longer trainings where they do sort of like mini trainings. Um, and then yeah, the basics are really great for new commissioners. So supportive of everybody going if you're able to. But just wanted to share that because I didn't raise my hand, but I have been through them.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Sarah?
I think, Andre, you mentioned that, I think you said that, by law that the money's is not supposed to go into the general fund. Is that true? It's supposed to go to the Conservation Commission?
It's got its own avenue. If but it cannot go into, from what I was reading, it cannot go into the general fund. We could take a look at that a little later on when we start our conversations.
Okay, yeah, because if
Right.
that's the case, we should probably talk to the town manager or if that's the case, we don't want to be not following the law in that regard.
Absolutely, yep. Well, I think there's some it's to me it seems a little more complicated than the cut and dry can't do or can do thing. In in that I think the funds go to the secretary of, I think, in the town, and then they disperse it accordingly. And so we're going to have to work that out. But there are funds available to us that we could be using. I don't know if it's all been spent, but I've never heard of that in
Well,
the.
I can look, if you've got something that if anybody ever has something that they found that they want a lawyer to look at, I'm happy to do it.
Uh-huh. Well, I have a few of these available here. Um,
You can just send them to me offline. We don't have to talk about it anymore, but I'm happy to take a look at anything.
right. Well, I actually brought them. I have them here to so that
Oh,
we
to
can
talk about?
share them. But I don't want to get too far off of the other business that we've got to be doing here. So, Bruce,
A different topic
yeah,
or yield to Carol?
Carol,
So in talking to the um, person at MAC, I was told most town conservation commissions do make their funds available for the education of their members. And that she knew that Amherst didn't, but that is not the usual thing.
and who told you this?
The administrator I talked to at MAC,
Okay.
talked to her a couple of times because I was interested in why didn't Amherst provide these funds? And I think they should be provided. I think we should be educated.
So let me give a quick read here of Chapter 40. This is MGL, Mass General Law. Chapter 40, Section 8C. It says such commission, they're talking about Conservation Commission, such commission shall conduct researches into its um, into its local land areas and shall seek to coordinate the activities of unofficial bodies organized for similar purposes and may advertise, prepare, print, and distribute books, maps, charts, plans, and pamphlets which in its judgment deems necessary for its work. Among such plans may be a conservation and passive outdoor recreation plan, which shall be as far as possible consistent with the town master plan and with any regional plans. Anyway, it essentially there are things that we could be doing and haven't yet. So I just wanted to put that out there just for now. Bruce?
Unless Aaron has a further point on this topic.
I was just going to say that there, I believe that section is referring to the open space and recreation plan. So I have been participating in that and giving periodic updates, and it's been kind of a long time since I have. It is nearing completion. Several of the new members may not have seen it yet, but members who have been here longer may recall that I've done sort of like periodic sharing of the document for comments, and um, it's been probably a 2-year process of drafting it. We're nearing completion of it, and we haven't really given an update on it in quite a while. So I will need to do that soon. It's been a challenge to get it done from a workload standpoint and staffing standpoint. So we are behind the scenes working on it.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, Aaron. Bruce, go ahead.
Reminder to all of you to attend the culverts and flooding community workshop next Monday, 6 o'clock, town hall, second floor. Childcare available for anyone 5 and over. And there'll be dinner. And it's going to go from 6 to 8. We're going to stand around the maps after we get a presentation from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, who is the administrative agent for the grant the town got from the MVP award from the state. And you all know what a culvert is. So come and help us identify the high priority culverts that should get the money. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. And I think you've mentioned that the food they have is really good.
Yes, it is. If the Shrewsbury example was any indication. So yes, I recommend it.
All right, well, thanks. Carol, your hand is still up. I don't know if you meant to have it up. Okay. So we've been through the draft status. And I think I've covered briefly all the small items I was looking to speak about a little later. Is there anything that Aaron, that you would like to put in for the director's report before we start our policy and regulations draft?
Um, so um, I don't really have anything major to share. We're continuing on with the MIPA permitting for Puffer's Pond. Bruce has been spearheading the culvert project information gathering, which he already mentioned. There is in your packets in the correspondence folder a request which had been tabled for a request for certificate of compliance for UMass for members who were not here. It was a enforcement order which required an after the fact notice of intent, and they've requested a certificate of compliance. We tabled it a couple months ago because of snow on the ground. And I think it would be helpful if anybody who can come to the site visit is able to. There's a couple dates that the consultant had proposed for that site walk. So I don't know if at some point in the meeting we can talk about that whenever you deem appropriate, Andre. But that is one thing that's sort of pending for the next meeting, to get out there and take a look at the work that was done and see how it looks.
Sounds good. Yeah, we can cover these at the end here with the monitoring and compliance and
Andre, I just need to check one thing.
yeah.
So for anyone who's here and you are very sure that you are going to be able to come to this meeting next Monday, please raise your hand. And if it's two people, because there's two of you who are going to come, give me, I need to send in the number for the order of the food by tomorrow. Now, if you decide Sunday night, oh, I really should go to that, and I didn't raise my hand, come anyway, because they order extra. But it would be helpful to know who's coming. So I see Carol and Aaron and myself. And so if you change your mind, please try to come and come anyway, because there will be extra food. Thank you.
Well, thanks. Okay, well, I think we're gonna move into the land use management. Is that where we are here on page 14 of the old one? Land use management is where we're starting?
I was
Yes.
at the bottom of page 14 with my edits, I believe.
Okay, we're at U, at letter U.
Um, I think my last edit was on N, but or actually, I guess it was O. So I think we did move down to the bottom of that section.
Can you just tell me where to find it? I'm sorry, I'm
In the
having
old,
difficulty.
yep, in the old version that we've been working off of, page 14, where it says land use management.
Are you talking about in the packet, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm having difficulty locating it. I found it last time, but
Are you in the packet right now?
no. I was trying to find it I thought I found it on the website last time.
So if you just go to the Conservation Commission page, and I've got it up on the screen too, if that's helpful, but if you just go to the Conservation Commission page,
Yep. That's good.
Town of Amherst, and scroll down on the right-hand column, there's a Conservation Commission packet
Right.
link. You can click on that, and then when you click on that, there'll be a list on your left-hand side, so you'll need to click on the 311 meeting. And when you open that, there'll be a couple folders in there. One of them will be the land use policy and regulation folder. So click on that. And then when you click on that, you might need to scroll back up to see the list of documents, but it's the document from the February 25th meeting, I believe, is where we left off. And that's the one I have up right now.
Dear. Okay. I don't know why I have such trouble with this.
Were you able to find it, Sarah?
No, is it in conservation land use policy discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, should be.
And then there are just four. 1, 2, 3, 4 doc. Oh,
Yep. So one of them, if you just see like the version that is dated February 25th, 2026, if you open that one, it should open to the document.
I don't
There's
know. I
there's
only have 4.
there's a what's up?
I only see 4 documents. They're all last uploaded March 5th.
Yep, so if you look at the title of the document, it should have a date on the title. And
I'm
so
sorry, I'm having such difficulty.
there's here,
Okay. I opened one.
let me show you. This might actually help.
Sorry.
No, this is good. Town of Amherst Conservation. Click on Conservation Commission page. You
Mhm.
scroll down, you'll see where are we? Meeting packets right here. Just 2 down under meeting materials. And then right here you'll see 311 in the list.
Conservation, yeah.
311 Conservation Commission meeting, and then there's Conservation Land Use Policy discussion. So those are the documents I presume you're seeing. So
They're just 4, right?
yeah, there's 4 separate documents. So see this one here, it's 225 2026 down at the bottom. One of them is PDF and one of them is Word. So, because for accessibility purposes, we have to have both
Oh,
in
I
case
see.
people don't have Word.
Oh, I see.
But if you
Okay.
click on that one, it'll open the Word document.
Thanks.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Sorry
Of
about
course.
that.
No problem.
Well, you got it there. Everybody else all set? I don't see any hands. So yeah, I think that we finished up before at the beginning of land use and management. So
Page 15. I think I had a comment on here. That's why I'm so wanting to, I think this is the section I have a comment on.
well, yeah, please do. The land use management one.
Um,
So we're going to go through letter by letter. Or did you have a comment before this?
um,
All right.
I sent it in an email to Aaron. They're not huge comments, but one of them was the title of the section. But I thought we'd almost gotten to it last time.
Do you want me to open it up and see if I can find the email? Would that make things
I
easier?
I just had the email open.
Why don't we
I
start?
have it right here. I have the email open. But I can send it. I'll just forward it to you now, Aaron, so you have it in front of you.
Sarah,
Mhm.
we're going to start to go through these letters. Why don't you look at your email and figure out which letter you need to comment on and then tell us, okay, when you find that. Okay?
Yeah, I just resent it to you, Aaron.
All right. Does anybody have any comments or on letter U? Anyone comment on V? So
Excuse me, I don't have the document on my screen anymore. Could, you had it up a minute ago, Aaron?
Yeah, I was just trying to get Sarah's
I think
email.
you know what? I see where it is, Aaron. It's at the
I
bottom of page 17 of the draft you're working off of. It's titled
okay.
Forest
Okay.
Management.
Okay, so we'll hold off until we get
Yep.
down there. Okay,
Yep. Sorry
sorry.
about
Okay.
that.
Nope, that's okay. It's I'm toggling back and forth and yeah, okay. Here we go. Sorry.
okay, so U is buffer strips along wetlands and waterways, and no one had any comment on that. What about V, soil conservation? W, fencing. X, cover crops. There was one comment I had. Just didn't know what on X the word real soil erosion means.
So uh rills and gullies, if you ever see like a clear-cut hillside where soil's been disturbed and it rains, you see
Yeah.
these like sort of channels that form in the soil, and then it kind of deposits these plumes at the bottom of the slope. That's what that is describing.
All right, I learned something today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any comments on Y, irrigation?
Andre,
Yes, sir.
I just suggest we put real in the glossary, since if one of us doesn't know what it means, other people reading it won't either.
Great idea, Bruce. Thank you. Can we do that, Aaron?
Yes. Got it.
Can you make it a little bigger, Aaron? Thank you.
All right. And Z, use of pesticides. Double A. And double B. Okay. Anything on the appendices or the subtext there up to forest management? Is there anything up to forest management?
I'd like to talk about A.
Let's talk about A. Appendix A, you mean?
Yeah,
I figure that we look at the appendices afterward. Or,
fine, just sometime.
yep, okay. Yeah, let's do this document here, then we'll jump into the appendices if that's works okay.
Well, and since we're there, let's ask the question for Aaron. It says B and C needs to be developed. Is that something we still need to do, or you were doing it, or?
Um, I think so. This is one thing that I guess I would suggest is when we get through all of the content that we were solid on the content, all of the remaining things. So for example, like filling out all of the definitions, making sure the index is accurate with page numbers and so forth, and all of those sort of administrative changes, as well as these types of administrative changes. At that point, I can populate all of those and prepare them. I can certainly give everybody a chance to look at them before we go to public hearing. Um, so that we can give it another quick look. I think before it goes for a final review with the town attorney, we should have those documents kind of ready in like a sort of very semi-final, ready to share publicly version. But I think we should finalize the content before we develop those forms, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
Okay. So without any more, then we'll move to forest management.
Here I've got comments. They're not very many, but I can give them to you.
All right. Do you have comments on the first page?
That's the right of first there, yes. So instead of titling it forest management, I suggest that it read conservation land management. And I mean, so you understand where I'm going with these comments. I think that so this talks about how the town conservation land is managed, and I think this section should address not just how the forest portion of Amherst conservation land is managed, but also like the grasslands, the fields, as well. And I just have a couple of suggestions. So first is to broaden the title, so it reads conservation land management instead of forest.
So Sarah, can I ask you a question related to that?
Yeah.
I thought that we have other and anyone else please pitch in that we already have something for grasslands and so on. This is specific to the forests within
I
conservation.
don't think so. I don't think there is, I think that that didn't make it into the
So
first section. Why don't you just let me, go ahead.
I think where that might be the missing piece that where staff have drafted for an additional section of this document. So I
Well,
just wanted to add that.
I,
Grassland.
if you, why don't I tell you what my suggestions are? They're very, very simple. I don't think it'll interfere with anything that the staff is doing in terms of grass management plans. I don't think you'll, let me just make my suggestion, because they're very minimal.
Go ahead.
So that's one. And then in the second to last paragraph of that section,
The first paragraph or
the
down at the
second to
bottom?
last paragraph of the entire forest management section.
Okay.
Okay, okay, stop. So, the second to last paragraph begins, the commission would support, right? So I would take out would. So the commission supports and encourages. And then all the way to the end of the sentence, where the last sentence reads, all forest cutting plans. So all forest cutting plans are subject to commission review and approval. I would insert prior to submission of any such forest cutting plans to the state and any implementation of such forest cutting plans. You have that language, Aaron, in my email to you.
This is the next paragraph down. I'm sorry, I was trying to find it in the last paragraph. Can you just say that one more time for me?
It's okay, for some reason it doesn't read the same as, I don't understand why. I don't know, it's different from first encourages the director. I don't have that in mind. I have something, the last sentence of what I provided comments on says all forest cutting plans are subject to commission review and approval. Where's that?
It says,
Oh, there it is. It's at the
Bottom.
bottom. I see it. So it's that sentence, review and approval, and it would continue on after the word approval prior to submission of any such forest cutting plans, which is capitalized, forest cutting plans, to the state, capitalized state, and any implementation of such forest cutting plans. And then a new sentence.
Just put plan, brother. Okay.
I think it's plans. And then a new sentence that's its own paragraph, but it's just one sentence. New paragraph. Yep. The director of conservation shall prepare and submit a plan for mowing any grassland areas of conservation land. That's capital conservation land.
Could you say that again? I just couldn't keep up with you. The director
Yeah,
of
it's in your
conservation.
email. The director of conservation shall prepare and submit a plan for mowing any grassland areas of conservation land. That's capital C, capital L, prior to implementation of any mowing on said conservation land. Any mowing on said. There's an any before the mowing. No, not there. Oh, yeah, it's further on, right before any mowing, implementation of any mowing on said.
Yeah, get rid of that first any and put the any behind the implementation. Or behind of.
Implementation of any mowing after of. Yep. So all that does is say that all it's doing is saying that the Concom has to approve what the management plans are for forest and grass and mowing. That's all.
Yeah, those are good observations. I would add to the last sentence there that you've got any mowing must be done in accordance with MGL 131. Which one is it? The
Section 40.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Wetland Protection Act?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I think that's
So it makes sense to have this sentence here, or this paragraph about mowing, if we change the title of this section to conservation land management, right?
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting it. Yeah, so it applies to both the forest management plans and this mowing plan.
sounds good.
I'm just typing. I mean, if we're going to say
Right.
Wetland
Yeah, I
Protection
agree.
Act, are we going to add in bylaw and
Yes.
regulations?
Yep.
And then, um, so I'm just going to put a little tag here because I think this is a good transition to um, so I had sort of coined it, mowing, policy, but it's, now early successional management. Um, so that would be a good transition, and those could be points to insert there. So I'll just make a note that we'll review that once it comes through.
Yeah, we'll review
But
the title too, because early successional management is one thing and just mowing is another. And we're talking about, we want to make sure that that the mowing, all the mowing is done appropriately, not just early successional management.
right.
I do not want to change that title.
Yeah, because they could, I mean, if the thing is, Aaron, the way it's drafted, it's just broad. And then the plan comes to the Concom and it gets approved and tweaked or whatever, and then all the details are in the plan. But the policy can just have the broad requirement that whatever the plan is comes to the commission. Do you know what I mean? And then you can
Yeah,
keep fewer words in the policy.
absolutely. So the what I however we're going to refer to it, that mowing slash early successional stuff, is what it talks about specifically is time of year for birds. So like
Yeah,
no mowing shall take place prior to X date or after X date, and same with lands that are in natural heritage and endangered species area. There's a specific criteria for time of year of mowing, so that was
right,
also included. And then there's a certain mowing pattern that you're supposed to follow. So for
right,
example, like when you mow a lawn, you're doing like these straight lines back and forth, right? But when
right,
you're mowing a field, you're supposed to start in the middle and move outward. That way any organisms can move away from the mower while it's
right.
going. So the detail that I incorporated in there incorporates all of that, which I do feel like will be important to have for our land manager to understand, the commission's expectations in terms of that type of detail. But I agree with you in terms of plan. Like if we're going to say, what's the mowing plan at Wentworth Farm? That it would be good for us to say, like, this field will be mowed on even years, field will be mowed on odd years, or whatever it
Right.
is, so that you
So
guys can see that.
right. So
Make-
Aaron, or is what you're saying that you'd continue on? You got the broad statement of how the plan's got to get approved, but then you're going to go on and give some details of what needs to be in the plan. Is that what you're saying?
Can I
Right.
share something with you guys for a second?
Yes.
I just want to share how do I share my,
Let me stop sharing. And if
oh,
you request to share, Andre, I should be able to allow you to. And actually, I'm going to make you co-host so that you should be able to do that.
okay. Am I sharing now?
Um, I cannot see your screen, Andre. There should be a little share button at the bottom.
All right, let me try that again. Share, okay. Do you see stuff?
Not seeing it.
There. Do you see anything?
Oh, there goes.
All right. So right here we have the town of Weston. And they started a mowing guide, I guess. And it's got it's got a whole bunch of information on it, and we can work off of something like this, or you guys can. But I mean, this is a really well put together, or it's a good start at least on different things. It's got all the fields that they have, and when they're the timing of it. A lot of it also does mention what dates they're trying to avoid for the birds and where they mow. So I think this is something that we can aim for It'll take a little bit, but something like this is one example of what we can be requesting. But I just wanted to share that so that so folks would be able to see that. You know, there's some good information out there. I think there's another here we go. Weston's conservation fields for something for managers. They just, I just kind of came across these because I was curious what other towns do. But they have some very informative stuff here, including recommendations and summaries thereof. So we're not, whoops, we're not alone in what in our search, if you would. And I think that we could. I'm going to stop sharing. I don't know how to do that, but am I still sharing?
Yes.
There should be a red button at the top.
Okay.
Stop.
Stop share. Got it. Anyway, there we go. We have a lot of different places we can look for samples or go-bys. So we're not we're not stuck trying to figure the whole thing out from the beginning. Jason, you have a question?
Yeah, I don't know if this question is more of a, I guess maybe an observation, but we talk a lot about in this section about mature stands of trees, these habitats, how it's a rare habitat type, having, extensive stands of mature trees with closed canopies that are not fragmented. And then we're going to go on to talk about mowing in like early successional habitat management. Are we trying to prevent that succession from occurring in these areas? Like, what's the rationale with the mowing? And like, we go to great lengths, and this is a lot of just like kind of information. Um, so why are we mowing these? Like, why don't we reduce mowing to like the paths? And why are we mowing some of these fields as opposed to letting them mature and go into succession?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons, and I'm sure Aaron's got more to add to it, but two of the reasons that I can give is one for certain grassland birds that use the areas, and two is to maintain the area so that it can be farmed. And I think that's one of the goals that's been set out there. Aaron?
Yeah, so I mean, I would encourage all of you if you're ever driving around um, on a lovely fall day to go up to the Harvard Forest. There's really beautiful dioramas up there that show New England through the decades. And I think it's really important to remember that when New England was settled, it was completely clear cut. And also prior to settlement, there was a lot of fire that resulted in open fields in Massachusetts. And so we have a lot of species in Massachusetts that are dependent on open fields. And as the decades have passed, and agriculture has basically, I mean, in many towns, agriculture is no longer happening in the formal sense of like, growing vegetables or hay or having pasturing. Um, these forests have regenerated, and so there's not a lot of grassland left. And so there's some 90 species of birds in Massachusetts that are in significant decline, and it's a way to sort of help them to preserve some of their habitat. And that's why it's a big push in Massachusetts to maintain grassland habitat.
Yeah, and I mean, I fully support that, and I know about that because I'm a birder. But my concerns, my edits in this section have mostly to do with just process and making sure that the Conservation Commission has sort of oversight over what's happening, not to actually do the plans, because that should be done by people who know what they're doing, but just the oversight process. And honestly, over the years, I walk every day in Amherst Conservation Land near my house at Amethyst and Wentworth Farm, and I've always been, and also Gull Pond is right near me. I've always been very, very troubled by the way in which the town mows. They mow it absolutely flat, and I'm super concerned about, some of the early returning birds like the woodcocks. There's nowhere for them to nest at this point. They used to hear them all over Wentworth, and it's silence. And there's flocks of year-round bluebirds that use the cover, and there's no cover, and the mowing is all the way up to vernal pools. And so it's just a question of, I understand the definitely and applaud the effort to maintain grasslands for these species. It's just how it's done, I think, is important. And when I've called and expressed my frustration, as many other people have, I've been told this because people are worried about ticks and things like that. It's got actually nothing to do with the species themselves. It's people complaining about ticks and things like that. So that's my personal thing.
Thanks, Sarah. And you're not the only person who's noticed that, and I've heard it from others as well. I think we do. That's one of the other things I'm finding out more and more about is there is a certain separation between the Conservation Commission and the town. We regulate the town. We regulate not just the town. We regulate everything having to do with wetlands, but the town is a part of it, and we need to keep that in mind when we're as we move forward, because looking back, we really didn't do that much of it. And I'm seeing issues with mowing. I'm seeing issues with how Gull Pond was taken care of. The Conservation Commission was not notified ahead of time of this dam breach, and if you look at the laws, we should have been notified ahead of time. We should have been able to apply conditions. So that's why I brought that up today, because we're hopefully going to work our way into the beavers. But we do need to make sure that we keep this in mind, that we work collaboratively with the town. But sometimes I've seen that the town has done stuff that they might not need to be doing in a certain way. That's why we're looking to, I think, Sarah, actually getting this plan out there and having this guidance is going to be helpful. The same thing as beaver type guidance as well. I think that's what the way that we can move forward collaboratively here. Thank you, Bruce.
So I thought the Weston example was excellent. It's aspirational. It's 40 pages. And we have as much in ours would be similar. To do that, we're not going to ever get the staff to have the time to create such a thing. Therefore, we're going to have to work with the town to find a student or a set of students or an intern or some other pathway for creating this thing, and we'll need a subcommittee of 2 or 3 people to oversee the process of creating it. So I urge you to think along those lines in terms of actualizing the idea of what the Weston example gives us.
Okay. Yep. That's it's a big aspiration. I think we could do it, but it would be a lot of work. Thanks, Bruce.
Then the question is, who's going to go look for the intern? Who's going to look for the assistance that would be needed or the funding that would be needed? The question is, who's doing that?
And that's one of the questions. Sorry.
And I'm inventing without committing to it. I'm just putting it out there because I can't do it.
Well, we can start with a plan. I mean, Aaron already drafted a grassland mowing plan, right, Aaron? So we can start with a plan and then think about how to
Okay.
get it laminated.
No, it's more about the individual space that, what were there, 45 different grassland places that they had in that booklet. And ours might be fewer, like 30, but still, it's a lot of information, a lot of mapping and all sorts of stuff.
Right, but they're
They're-
currently
they're-
managing the
Their hands
land.
up here, Sarah.
What's
Uh,
that?
We have 4 people with their hands up.
Oh, sorry.
Wait till why don't you put your hand up and we'll get you involved here. Thanks. Jason.
Yeah, so something of a follow-up to my question or my statement earlier. Aaron, you mentioned fires, which was something I was going to bring up. Are there any species, or there anything that actually require fires to periodically move through the land? And I don't think I've ever heard of the town purposely doing a burn, but is that another way to control this that is
In other
more
places.
part of the natural cycle?
Andre, do you want me to jump in?
I could jump in myself. If you see out here, sometimes you'll see these red pines. They're not really native to here, but those are fire propagators. Those are fire. There's a word for it. They work fine with fire. Uh, White pines maybe a bit, but here in this area, we don't really have fire. I forget the word is for it is, but yeah, it's not like if you're out on the Cape, for example, some of the pines out there. I don't know if you have some more, Aaron, go for it, but th- that's not what we have around here.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we have done controlled burns in Amherst. It's just I want to say like a decade ago or something like that. I can remember seeing I think Mass Fish used to have a program where they would do these burns and they would actually administer them and help cities and towns because it does there are benefits to it. But
Certainly.
yeah,
It's
and I
kind of
want to
antithetical to carbon capture, though.
Yeah, and I want to make sure Carol gets a chance. I do want to have one other quick point to make once others have had a chance to speak.
Sarah?
Well, this is going back. Sarah, you said that this was a personal concern of yours. I don't think it's a personal concern. I think it's a question of understanding and applying regulations. And there's various ways that the Conservation Commission can be involved in education, in addition to publishing long pamphlets. But it's not just something that you alone care about because you like birds. I mean, this is law. That's all.
Thanks, Carol. Sarah, did you have something to add?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Aaron?
So, we haven't really shared too much of this with the commission, but um, for a long time now, I've been wanting to put together what I would describe as a um, townwide operation and maintenance plan for our conservation lands, which very similar to the document that Andre shared. And I have had 3 separate interns that I've recruited in an attempt to help me kickstart the development of that. And it for a variety of reasons, hasn't gotten very far. But you can imagine, I mean, just looking at the document Andre shared, something like that, but it's even more intensive because I'm talking about places where we need 400 feet of boardwalk replaced, places where we need culverts removed and replaced with footbridges, things like that. So I'm talking like a holistic operation and maintenance plan for the town, which would be essentially a permit because um, you know, when you're talking about review and approval of these plans, from my perspective as a, a person who reviews permits, it's like it comes to me in a permit, I'm reviewing the proposal, the commission's reviewing the proposal, and then they're issuing a permit for that activity to happen. So that's kind of how I envisioned it moving forward. But I think I love Bruce's idea of involving, student interns. I just attended on February 27th the UMass Environmental Career Fair and got a list of about 15 interns who I'm emailed yesterday to try to get people kickstarted. I'm meeting with one of them next week. So I am working on this behind the scenes. It's just like I'm with everything else going on, I have to, I'm maneuvering to try to figure it out, but it is happening behind the scenes.
Very good. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, let's work our way back to the conservation land management or forest management portions here. If we can go down to 1, 2, 3, the bottom of the fourth paragraph. Keep going. All right, right there. Stop it there. It says after the blue that you see there, it says carbon credits will not be sold without commission review. Shall not. Okay. Now come down to where it says Amherst is located within the Connecticut River Valley sub ecoregion. This is a really good and informative paragraph. I frankly think that should be at the very beginning of
Mhm.
our so where it says it explains where Amherst is and so on and so forth. I feel like that should be at the beginning of forest management or the whole, the at the beginning of the land management section. And I'd like to hear what others think.
And you want all the way down to the bottom of the paragraph, Andre moved, or
The entire paragraph, because
okay.
it's informative and it kind of sets the scene for where we are, so to speak.
Mhm. Okay. Are others okay with that relocation?
I guess so. Once we move it, I have a couple of tiny edits on it. Okay. All right. Somewhere in the middle, it says to wildlife, and then it says the commission will favor. Look all on the left. It says right around a little further down from where you are, further down, there. It says to wildlife, comma, the commission will favor, right? So let's get rid of will and put the Conservation Commission favors and promotes. Okay. Now we can come back to where we were before, a little further. Let's come back several paragraphs down. Right there. Okay. One more paragraph down. Okay. I would say it says the commission will favor something like in its decisions, comma, the conservation or the commission will favor and promote. Or the commission in its decisions will favor, whichever sounds best to you guys.
Is that okay?
Uh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all I have. I did notice the same thing about would support and encourage on that second to last one. All right. Anybody else with anything on conservation lands or the forestry one? So we have community gardens, and I do have a comment on small b there. And it says structures are allowed within the garden areas for storage of water and user tools, etc. I would just put small structures. I don't know if that doesn't really define anything, but uh on C, any water source connected to a stream or pond or a new well must be proposed in writing by the department to the commission for review and approval prior to construction. On E, it says to guard against excess, so on and so forth. It says the department will arrange for monitoring. Should we make that a shall? Should we like actually make sure that it gets monitored, or what does it mean arranged by for monitoring?
So, Andre, I can tell you a little backstory on this, but I see other folks have their hand up. I don't know if you want me to
Let
answer
me
or
tell
wait.
your story, and then we'll move on to the hands.
Sure. So, this was one comment, and then I think there might be another one further down. But the issue was, or the concern there was, and we went back and forth with whether it should be shall or, a little softer language, is just that this is something we don't have a budget for, and we also don't have staff to conduct this stuff. And so it's kind of like an unfunded mandate, if you will, like in terms of requiring all of this additional stuff for community gardens, which, if we're able to do it, if we have the funding and the, budget to do it, that's wonderful. But if we don't, then it saying we shall kind of ties our hands.
Okay. All right. We can leave that out. Now we have two hands up. Jason's hands up first, right? Go ahead, Jason.
Thanks, Andre. Regarding B, the small structures are allowed within the garden areas for storage of water. Um, I think that's pretty vague. Who builds the structures? And is it just the overall garden area, or is it kind of within your assigned garden plot? Um, who gets to use, like, if I build it, does that mean does everybody just get to use it? I think there's a lot of potential, well, I think it's just vague.
Yeah, and it is. Bruce, you put your hand up. You were involved in this.
So I think it's like that because we did consultation with the community gardeners in each of the two different gardens there are, and the needs are really different. And so they needed to have some input into how it would be done. Um, in one case, I think there was a cistern that was built up. In another case, it was about drilling a well down and, the costs involved and such. So I think we left it that way just to kind of see how it would play out. I don't think it's the case that individual gardeners build their own structures. what they're looking for is a shed to put the tools in at the end of the day. But
So maybe just change it to small structures may be allowed within the garden. And who's going to do the allow? Like then
Well,
it also doesn't say, do they need to come to us first? Like
right.
who does the allowing?
Yeah, and is there anybody set up for that? I mean,
yeah, there are managers of each one, as I understand it.
so should we say that that it's in consultation with the
Sure.
manager or whatever, or yeah? What are they called? The
I
garden,
don't remember.
Aaron, do you know what the garden stewards or whatever are called?
Um, So in the case of they're different. So in the case of the Amethyst Gardens, I believe it's managed mostly by Angela in the town manager's office. In the case of Fort River Farm, there's a actual I'm not sure how to describe it because I'm not an expert on it, but it's a special organizational structure where their members vote and there's like a democratic process for everybody to make decisions together on how the garden is managed.
All right, I think we should leave it vague then and see where it goes and modify it if we need to. I don't, I otherwise
I think that's where we ended up the last time. So I agree with you.
yeah, I think I vaguely remember some conversation on that, Bruce. So that's all right. Okay, Rachel. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. My comments for this section, I think, fall under that same theme of the the difference in language between something that might be policy versus regulation. You know, what is a recommendation versus something that has teeth? And so I'm struggling with the language that's reads a little bit like an ultimatum that the department must throughout this section, like little a, the department must post its contact information. Little d, the water must be conveniently accessible by user. I'm wondering if it's better to say will, W-I-L-L, or may, if that's better. I'm just not sure, like Aaron was saying, I'm not sure that if we're saying that the department will do all these things, but there isn't funding to do it, is it a helpful regulation rather than a policy?
So you're saying that that these are more so policies than regs, so therefore they should be like will versus.
Yeah, unless folks feel otherwise, I think we should think of this as categorized as more of a regulation, and then in which case the shall and the must language is appropriate, but
Any thoughts, Bruce?
Yeah, I think we struggled with this also, and at this juncture, I would say try to have it be a softer view because again, the two are so different and they manage themselves largely. And I just think it's almost too much detail already. So I just make it softer throughout.
yeah.
All right,
So
so we have the one on
A,
A instead of must, will, right?
yeah.
Mm,
So the department will post its contact information. And then little d, as in Dave, the second sentence that starts with the water will be conveniently. And then the third sentence to ensure accessibility of the water source may be extendable. little f would be, the department may provide. Or will provide, yeah, I don't. Sure, provide. And I don't know if it needs to be written, if it could be verbal, so it could just be may provide a detailed annual report. Unless folks feel otherwise, but
I think that's going to be a will.
Will.
yeah. Will, yeah, sorry about that. So Erin, if you can undo the may from will, the department will provide a detailed annual report. Sorry about that.
All right. Thank you. Carol.
Hi, I had surgery yesterday and I'm really fading. And so I'm going to say good evening, good night to everybody. Okay?
All right, Carol.
I hope
Thanks
you
for
feel
your
better, Carol.
Good night,
Heal up
Carol.
quickly.
Right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Anything else? Oh, I was looking at E and it says the cost for routine soil, so on and so forth. I would just take that out.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that that's the next sentence as well. And
You want to take out the next sentence, Andre?
the next two sentences. Yep.
Recommendations.
Yeah.
Down to there.
I believe, now let me just double check on that. I left the rest out. Implementation of this condition by the department is dependent on the availability of staff and budget and may be waived during periods of declared drought. Yeah, okay, we'll leave those. But yeah, get rid of that whole thing that just gets into what can be tested and all that, and I think it's not necessary. All right, anything on plantings? Nothing on plantings. Okay, beavers. So I just wanted to point out a couple of things here, going back to the Gull Pond issue. Um, toward the end of the first paragraph, it says the Conservation Commission regulates response actions related to beaver activity within its jurisdiction. In addition, the Board of Health Department does as well. Usually what happens here, I just want to give a quick explanation with beavers, is usually folks will start with looking for an emergency order from the Board of Health. The Board of Health has got the final decision on whether a beaver is to be removed or some beavers are to be removed. But if there's something having to do with the actual structure, which then has to do with manipulation of the wetland. Let's say if you take down a part of a dam, it means the wetland gets smaller. It means that more water runs downstream, etc. Then the Conservation Commission is involved in it. So anyway, that's what I
So-
wanted to. Yes.
Sorry, I am
Yeah.
not raising my hand.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I just have a question for Aaron. Um, this stuff about in cases of emergency, what's gonna happen? Is that what's required? So we're talking now just about beaver problems on conservation land. So even on conservation land in an emergency, the Conservation Commission is not part of the decision making. Is that correct, Aaron?
My protocol is if any person contacts me requesting an emergency, I forward the request to Dave, and then Dave makes the decision as to whether the emergency cert is issued or not. I would issue it, and then it's ratified at the next Conservation Commission meeting.
Okay, but so in my personal experience, only with Gull Pond and only with the Beaver Dam and Deceiver at Gull Pond on 3 separate occasions over the course of living where I live since 2010. On 3 separate occasions, the Conservation Commission has not been, notified, and action has been taken, and it's been ratified in arrears as an emergency when, in my personal opinion, there hasn't been one. So I would like to try to interfere with that practice, if you see what I mean. I'm not interfere, but I would like to sort of make sure that that doesn't continue.
Um, well, Sarah, the way that it should be is that the Conservation Commission should be notified ahead of time.
Right. Which
Um,
this doesn't say.
well,
They're
we're-
not in it.
Yeah, we're gonna no. Well, it does say it a little further on. Have you read?
No, this says in case of emergencies, town staff communicates with health director, and then they do this, and then they do this, and then the emergency certification is granted and ratified by the Concom after the fact
Yeah,
to
well, that's
to abate the emergency. But I get what I'm getting at here is that I've literally been in 3 separate occasions. There's been work done that, in my opinion, wasn't an emergency, and the Conservation Commission was not notified or involved in the decision, and an emergency certification was ratified after the fact. So this policy, as it's written, allows the bypass of the Conservation Commission. It just does, because it gets called an emergency, even though, like,
Yeah.
in
No,
my
that's
opinion, it wasn't.
so the law says that we need to be notified.
Okay, so we should put that in there.
Absolutely, because when you look at our appendices, you'll see that that we don't need to be that they don't need to notify us if it's for a take of the beaver. But if you're going to manipulate the wetland, in other words, if you're going to go to options 2 or 3, which would be putting some kind of water control structure or breach the dam, those need to be approved by the commission.
Okay, so the 3 situations that I'm talking to that I personally experienced, all of those did not involve a take and only involved
Yeah, I
the
understand that.
very dramatic reduction
We're going
in
to change
the
that.
water. Okay,
We're going to change that. This is unacceptable without having it spelled out. Sorry for not having said that before. Sarah.
okay, so I think this language, this in case of emergency language, needs to be changed then,
Or added to, yes.
or added to, yes.
Jason?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can we give a list of what or define an emergency?
That's in my notes to do. Yes, we need to define what an emergency is.
Yeah,
But
because if it's just, oh, the
even-
water's high
If
or
it's not-
something.
Right. The other thing, though, is even if there is even if there's a definition for what an emergency is, I think what Andre is saying is if the intervention that's proposed to be taken will involve impacting the water, which versus the take of the beaver, then the Concom has to give its approval, because what can happen is that what could have happened and didn't in these three situations is there could have been a very gradual reduction in the water level that would enable the pond to adapt and the creatures in the pond to adapt. And that's not what happened. It's a very shallow pond. So literally it drains like a bathtub in a matter of, a day or two. And it literally on three separate occasions, a wetlands drained, a runoff wetlands. It was just gone. That something that had frogs in it and et cetera all summer disappeared in like 2 to 3 days. So, that's just not good. That's the kind of thing I think that we should be overseeing.
Yeah, so I understand that, Sarah, but we do also need to clearly define what an emergency is.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
don't think
Yep.
that we should have, I don't think that I don't think we should have the expectation that in an actual emergency, if some drastic, and this is an actual emergency, or if, something is blocked up and the road is flooding,
Right. That never
action needs to be
happened.
taken. They can't wait until the Concom gets together or
Though
a
there's a
letter
way
needs
to
to be
do that,
sent.
Jason. There is a way to do that. And just the same way that somebody called Dave, Dave should have called me. And if he didn't get a hold of me, he should have called Bruce. But that's how this works, is that you talk to the chair, and the chair then works it out with Dave. But nobody in this commission was notified prior to this. And
So,
when you look
so
at
we're not, it's not the Conservation Commission then. It's the chair of the Conservation Commission that's like, we can't say the entire
for,
Conservation
for an
Commission has to.
emergency, if it's an emergency and it needs to be done before the next meeting, yes. In other
So
words,
that should be defined as well.
going to be calling everybody. He's going to call the chair, right? I didn't hear the last thing you said there, Jason. You said something and then signed off.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's not like I assume when we say here approvals from the Conservation Commission, then we're talking really the Conservation Commission, like the chair as a representative of the Conservation Commission.
During the emergency, and then it gets
Well,
yes, and then it gets picked up later.
Yes,
Meaning
retroactively.
at the next meeting we ratify it. Yes.
Yes.
the other thing we
Hang
could
on,
do is,
Sarah.
sorry.
I want to ask Bruce why it wasn't spelled out. The regulations weren't spelled out on this.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I can address that
Fair
comment,
enough.
Andre.
Please, Aaron.
So what I did, so we didn't have a beaver section. The subcommittee never got to this section. This was basically sort of an afterthought. I mean, I shouldn't say an afterthought. The committee, we did our best to get through the charge, but we were only able to get through so much. I drafted this based on the way that the town of Amherst currently deals with beaver related situations.
It's not. It's
That's just the
Aaron.
Yep.
If you don't mind me saying, you're familiar with the law, right? And
yes,
the law says that we need to be notified prior. When you look
yes,
at the law on the beaver things, the very first example is if it's a health emergency. One
yep,
of those 9 or 10 different, I forget. If it's a health emergency, then the Board of Health uh, have a say, and we have no say. Meaning, if they need to be removed. But
right.
if there's something to be done with the water, then we need to be notified. It's in the law. Um, so I just want to make sure that that's plain and clear to everyone on the commission and everyone uh, with the town. Anyway,
So Andre, can I just while we're
Mhm.
discussing this, so that
Yeah.
there's two issues at play here. There's beavers in our land management policy on conservation land. And then there's just emergency certifications, right? Because emergency certifications can be town-wide. It can be any situation. Um, just as a staff person, this is how I've been directed by my supervisor that we deal with these situations. The commission could certainly establish its own policy in terms of how it wants these things dealt with. And I don't disagree with you with what the law says. And in other towns I've worked for, the Concom chair has been the first point of contact in an emergency. So you guys can establish the way you want the policy written, and we can incorporate how we want it done relative to beavers on conservation land. But I just wanted to say that in terms of like overarching,
Yeah,
we're
sure.
talking about like one piece of a bigger discussion.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I appreciate your giving the context and putting this whole part in here. Um, yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to see what happened at Gull Pond the last time happen again. And even in this, it says in cases of beaver dam breaching or drawdown, slow and controlled drawdowns shall be required to minimize abrupt dewatering of resource areas and prevent erosion, sedimentation, scour, and downstream flooding, as well as what's listed in the laws, death to the fish and so on. So if we had had an opportunity to, or had a say, we would have mentioned that. But we didn't have an opportunity and we didn't mention it. And what happened was a very fast drawdown. That's, not to mince words, but that's a violation of that's a violation right there. I'm not going to make it sound any different. So my idea here is not punishment, but let's make sure this doesn't happen again. And in order to do that, we need to kind of forensically pick apart what happened so that we know what it was and what we can do differently. As much of a pain as that might seem to some people, I think it's important. We don't want to see this kind of stuff happening. We don't want violations of the law. That's what we're here for, is to make sure things go smoothly. Thank you, Erin. Rachel?
Yeah, back when the subcommittee was working on this, Alex had reached out to me. He had some formatting issues with getting the state's diagram into the Word doc. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is really hard to read design wise. And I asked if I could, if he would mind if I mocked up a flow chart, and he said, sure. And so I have a flow chart, which really helps someone like me who's visual to kind of parse out this process. I mean, I could share it right now if that's helpful, or could send that along.
I think it would be helpful if you could send it to us.
Okay.
Yeah, and
There is a flow chart in the appendices. Maybe that's the chart that you made.
No,
No.
I don't think he incorporated what I did.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the discussion was around that, but
Are you sending it now?
I'm just gonna share this as an overview so
okay.
you can see. Can you see this okay?
yes.
Yeah, so it's a 3-page document and there are 3 steps of evaluation. So the first step is, and this is just what all I've done is like graphically separated out what the regulations say. Is step 1, determine the type of threat and who has jurisdiction.
Is this only to do with beavers?
Yes, it's very
Okay.
complicated. So the first question is, as Andrea was saying, is there a threat to public water supply? And that is a separate category altogether. So if that's a threat to public water supply, Mass DEP gets involved right away, and the State Department of Health gets involved. That's a really big deal. They define the term emergency. It's not meant to imply the applicant has a public health or safety emergency. and the emergency permit by the Board of Health is to solve a public health or safety threat. So that is one category. So if that happens, the state steps in and intercedes. The other category that we've been talking about is there a threat to human health or safety? And that could be on conservation land, that could be on someone's private land. This is also with beaver, this is just beavers. The applicant has to apply for emergency permit with the Board of Health, so that's applicant to Board of Health. The Board of Health determines if there is indeed a threat. If there is a threat, they're gonna go look at the site. And they then, and if there's not a threat, they have to tell the applicant why. And there's a whole bunch of appeals. But if there's a threat and the Board of Health goes to site and agrees that there is a threat, that's when you get to step 2. The applicant has to issue a letter stating what the issue is and the methods they want to pursue. The Board of Health reviews it. There are 3 actions that can take place. One is box cage traps, and the traps have to be licensed by Department of Fish and Wildlife. If the way the state regs read right now, if they box cage traps, they don't have to notify the Conservation Commission. But if they do plan on breaching dams or reducing the water flow, they have to
Wow.
notify CONSCOM. They must.
Wow.
And then also if it's a shallow flat area, it's not acceptable. So that's what we're talking about too, is if you're gonna drop the water level in the pond,
Which is what happened.
yeah, then that's not an acceptable method, and we gotta figure some other solution out.
But can you just hold on one sec before
Yeah.
you go on? Because if you go over to further to the right, it's not just that they're notifying, they have
must
to
be
request an emergency certificate in advance from the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
And so the Conservation Commission, even with a Board of Health threat, the Concom has to approve the modification to the beaver dam prior to the work being done. And that's
Right.
whether or
That's
not
state.
it's on conservation land.
Yeah, and that's state law.
And that's state law. So that's like huge. I mean, we can try parroting it, but we can almost, I mean, this is a great chart, Rachel. We could refer to the chart and we could say in our regulations that the town has to abide by the state law and cite the law and then put the chart in the back that helps people figure it out. But you certainly would have enough time if the applicant has to go through that many hoops. There's plenty of time to notify the Conservation Commission and request an emergency certificate.
There's also the case where there's not enough time, and that's the nature of the emergency. What is the risk? And so the guidance also talks through, are you in it, is this something that needs to be resolved in 10 days? So again, that's a definition of time frame of an emergency
Wow.
situation. And
That's still a
again,
lot of
even
time.
that requires coordination with the Conservation Commission in that situation if it involves, dam modification or lowering.
Wow. That's really clear. Thank you
And
so
then-
much.
You're welcome. And then it also goes over if that initial 10-day action is not effective, what the follow-up steps. So you get an applicant would have multiple iterations to try to resolve it with 10-day extensions. But it's at a different point, the Department of Fish and Wildlife get involved. So that's.
Well, I don't think our town has been complying with any of this, frankly.
All right. So I encourage us all to take a look also at the appendices, where there's a really good listing of what the options are. But if you really think about it, anything that manipulates the water levels, etc., that's us. If it's just killing the beavers, it's not us. I mean, that's kind of when you look at it from a clear standpoint of what's our authority is about the wetlands. So if it's something where they're going to have to remove a beaver, then it's a different, it doesn't involve us. Bruce.
I was thinking of a third alternative. It is plot, well, ask Aaron, I guess, but it seems to me that it would be possible for the chair, having received a request about an emergency certification, could call an emergency meeting
Yeah.
of the Conservation Commission. Because 2 weeks is a long time. And if I'm a homeowner and my basement is filling up with water because the dam has reached this tipping point and now the water is all going in my basement, I don't really care about your 2 weeks. I care about it tomorrow. Now, that doesn't preclude a slow drawdown as part of the answer, but I think there could be circumstances where we have to do it quicker than this chart allows.
And that's why why there's the option of contacting the chair, and the chair saying, okay, yes.
Or you could call us all together and
Yeah,
just,
get an emergency meeting. Yep.
We're up for it. Yeah, I don't, whichever.
anyway, I'm just
whichever one.
thinking of the other alternative. I'm also starting to fade, so I just reporting in.
Yeah, we're getting to the end.
Okay.
Thanks. Sarah, you're,
I was just gonna ask how we're gonna do the policy. I mean, how we're gonna modify it. Do we know what we're changing in the language?
well, I think it needs a whole rework.
Okay.
I would like to, maybe I can do a little bit of this with Aaron.
Okay.
You want to do that, Aaron? I think we can essentially bring in the information from the appendices, the state recommendations, and put them. We can kind of plug them in and make things a little simpler. I do want to define emergency. What
Mhm.
C actually is. It does have somewhat of a definition there. And yeah, I mean, I just had a note here that we should have a review of what of some of these old applications or whatever. But I think just knowing what's happened in the last one and trying to avoid it, I think is enough. So I do like both ideas of we can try to call an emergency meeting. Or I think typically what it is, it's like that night. That's kind of what I've been told. Aaron, is that kind of how it is? It's the decisions made right then and there.
I have never, sorry, I have a hard time with this. I have never having done this in 3 other towns, prior to coming to Amherst, it has always been a chairperson of the commission who was designated as the um, decision maker in an emergency to review the situation and grant and actually sign the emergency certification. That is a policy that DEP has been supportive of and has stood behind in each of the other towns that I've worked in, and then it's ratified and signed by the remainder of the commission at the following meeting. Um, that that has been sort of standard protocol in the other towns I've worked for. Um, in terms of the emergency meeting, if the Amherst Concom wants to try to do that, that's fine. But I do agree, there's a lot of pressure when these situations come in you have 24 hours. I mean, that's under the regs, you have 24 hours. They technically, if you don't respond within 24 hours, can start work. That's my understanding in the event of a public health or safety emergency. But however the commission wants to do it in terms of a policy, I think they just need to be clear about what that is going to be. And also, is it just pertaining to beavers, or is this policy for everything pertaining to emergencies?
Well, possibly. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll need to discuss that too, because we've gotten a few other emergency things like culverts and so on that we might want to have at least something to say about. But I think we do need to kind of set some protocols, such as some wording, if you would, for the emergency um, certifications. So, slow drawdown, et cetera, that should probably be in our emergency. I don't want to actually get in the weeds of it right now, but it's for us to keep in mind as we put this back together. Hopefully, we can get this before next meeting or the following. But yeah, have some protocols put together and have it spelled out to what happens between Board of Health and did you say is Dave speaking? Dave speaks for the Board of Health. Is that what it is?
My understanding is that the health director speaks for the Board of Health.
Okay. And so then it's the health director speaks for the Board of Health, and then we'll speak for the Conservation Commission, meaning the either the whole commission as a an emergency meeting or just the chair. We could figure that out, but not today. Um, anyway, Rachel, did you have your hand up?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if we have an emergency meeting, does it violate open meeting law? If we're not notifying in advance? That might
I,
be why the,
I was wondering about that.
yeah.
Do we have to have a quorum and et cetera?
Right, and that's why there's has been this provision that they allow the chair to sign on behalf of the board and then for the full commission to ratify following the emergency at the next scheduled meeting following the emergency.
Okay, so if that ends up being what we do, then let's make sure to have protocols set up that we're all in agreement with.
Yeah,
That way, there's no, it's always the same thing. All right, I think we're getting close to our time. We've gotten to the bottom of the beaver section, and we're in agreement that Aaron and I are going to work on putting this back together. Okay, Bruce.
Oops. Oh dear, what happened here?
You're still here. We can
I
hear.
know it didn't do what I had hoped. Okay, let me try it again. There we go. Just on this topic, there's a talk on Wednesday, March 25th. Unfortunately, it's during our meeting, but you might go by the library and they have like 15 of her books there. You can check them out.
Very good. Cool.
And
Okay.
that there is going to be a Saturday at the Jones Library in March as well, and I'll be there to talk about beavers and
It is March now.
March 21st
Oh,
at the Jones Library at I believe 3 p.m. There'll be some beaver discussion at the library.
All right. Good deal. So, okay, well, I think with all that, why don't we move out of this mode here and go into other business? Um, I know that there was at least one compliance update. Is that correct? I saw you had a few updates there, including the UMass 5.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was out at a couple sites that basically all of them had issues. Fort River, um, Hickory Ridge, the solar project, and also to a much lesser extent, the small stream restoration project happening at East Street School and basically asked for some corrections. I was told that those corrections were going to be happening today, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to get out there tomorrow morning before 10 a.m. to look at them to see if the corrections were made and things look better. So that is that. And then I will keep the commission updated if there's any ongoing issues. The other thing was the request for scheduling a site visit to look at the culvert replacement. That was a after the fact notice of intent for a enforcement order at North Village Drive that was completed by UMass. And they have options being the morning of Friday, March 13th. So that's Friday. They also have tomorrow morning after 10 a.m. Tomorrow. That won't work for me because I have meetings all day long. So I don't know if commissioners are available at any specific time before noon on Friday. It would need to be basically like a 9 a.m. for me. But if commissioners available, and if you're not, that's fine. This is a great time to see whether our culvert is flowing, and I've never seen it flow. It was flowing prior to the replacement, and I'm curious if it's flowing now. So it'd be interesting for commissioners to see that before we issue a certificate.
Is that the one that had like the 90-degree turn?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a extremely undersized culvert for the perennial stream, and then a larger culvert, which it basically caused the stream to divert. And then they replaced the undersized one in kind without a permit from us. That's what prompted the emergency certificate or the enforcement order. And then we required an upgrade of the culvert to be stream crossing compliant. The one on the Hadley side still seems to be the flowing stream. The one on the Amherst side that is actually the mapped perennial stream has not really been flowing, which I want to see. It's tough during drought. It's tough when it's frozen solid. So maybe with some rain tomorrow, we'll see some movement of water through the culvert. I'm hopeful that we will, but I'm not sure.
I may be able to make it Friday.
Okay.
Mm.
Even if one of you could be there, that would be great.
Well, hopefully I can make it, and hopefully others can too. Uh, monitoring reports, nothing.
All right, Andre.
Yes, sir.
Aaron, did you say that there was an after the fact approval for that project or after the fact enforcement?
Okay, so just to
And
recap the
sorry,
timeline. Yeah.
sorry, Aaron, then I'll just explain this or UMass has some permit, right? That there could you explain that we have some new folks, and I could also use a refresher on the UMass situation.
Yes.
So that's the
Yes.
impetus for me asking.
Yeah. So UMass you heard me say, I want to do an operation maintenance notice of intent for our conservation lands and all of our mowing and all of our management and all of our everything. UMass has one of those for its campus. And as part of that, which was approved, I want to say 7 years ago now, prior to my arrival with the town of Amherst, by the way, want to make that clear. It was approved, and it specifies certain projects that they provided plan detail for to have approved. So there was like a list of here are all these projects that are included as part of this blanket notice of intent. And then also, in addition to those specific projects, there's like operation and maintenance that they do annually. So that might be they're doing algicide treatments on the UMass pond because there's such bad algae problems. It might be that they're doing inspections and cleanings of their stormwater structures and all of those types of things. They're all rolled into this order of conditions. So one day I got approached by our previous uh, electrical inspector, and she said, "Hey, you may want to go take a look out on we call it Cinder Path. It's basically this cinder road that connects. I don't know if you know where Cold Storage Road is in UMass, and then there's Presidential Apartments, which are down on North Pleasant Street, and there's this road that connects them in the back. Can't be seen from the road. And I was told they were replacing a culvert back there. And she said, do they have a permit? And I said, no. They were replacing it and they were trying to say first of all, they never notified us of the work. No contact whatsoever, no written notification, no verbal call, nothing. And they were doing the work and they said they were doing it under this operation and maintenance order of conditions, which under the order of conditions, if they're doing a project that they specifically called out, they have to tell us this project's beginning. We go out, do an erosion control inspection. We know the work is going on. We talk them through it. That never happened. So they never told us the work was happening. They went ahead and were underway with the work when I arrived. I had to tell them cease and desist immediately, do a stop work, issue an enforcement order. And basically at that point, they had already installed a in-kind replacement of the existing culvert, which was failed, collapsed, whatever. And we required them to file an after the fact notice of intent. So at that point, they started development of a notice of intent. They eventually filed it. We went through a full review process, and the commission eventually approved a new stream crossing, along with a intensive restoration plan to restore the incredible damage that was caused out there. The contractor that they had doing the work was Baltazar, and they had basically taken hunks of reclaimed concrete that had been taken from other projects and just dropped them in the stream channel as like check dams going down the stream. There was all kinds of additional erosion that had been caused. I mean, it was probably the most significant violation I've ever dealt with in Amherst. And so this is the resolution of that. They're seeking a certificate of compliance on. My concern with it has been, every time I've gone, I've never seen the stream flow through this culvert that was replaced. And I find that really, I guess, concerning. Troubling, because there was a perennial stream that flowed through it. Yes.
Bruce?
You had to get to this topic at the end of the night, right? All right,
Keep you guys awake.
I'm going to be as concise as I can be. One, this happens over and over and over again, and it's really annoying. Two, what is the duration of this plan that was developed and approved 7 years ago?
That's a great question. So it would have already expired, except
Well,
that
we need a new one.
right. So I can try to track that down to get an answer
Okay.
for you. But
Just-
there was a tolling period that Baker issued for 2 years, followed by a 3-year automatic extension that Healy issued. So it basically gave this project an automatic 5-year
Okay. But
extension.
let's figure that out later. But just
Yeah.
I think we need to insist on a complete revision of this plan and a new one. I know it will cause a lot of work on our part, but I think we should insist.
That's a good idea.
Three, the third part is, for those of you who weren't here, and Andre who was, about 1.5 years ago, they promised, they being the vice president for operations who had been on leave because he was quite ill and he got better. And he said, oh, we're going to do better. We're going to come proactively to you once a quarter and tell you what we're doing, where we're
Wow.
headed, what's on the docket, blah, 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 blah. It never happened. And I I can only imagine they were happy that we didn't press them about it, but now I think we should
Why don't we
insist.
send a letter? He said that to the commission?
Yes, he
So
he
the-
was on the screen saying, "I'm really sorry. We've gotten behind. I've been sick, but now we're going to do better, and we're going to come to you proactively once a quarter to tell you what's going on, and so we can work together in the future to do better." Well, that didn't happen, and I want it to happen. Thank
I
you.
mean, this issue is much more substantial too than even just what Bruce is describing. Like, just to give you an example, in any city or town in the state of Massachusetts, the Conservation Commission signs off on every building permit, period. In Amherst, we don't see UMass's building permits because they have a state building inspector. So they are issuing building permits and doing construction, and there's no sign off by Concom. And that is part and partial to why we've had so many issues, because there's no review of their proposed building projects
Oh.
unless they determine the Concom has jurisdiction, which isn't the way it's supposed to work. We're the ones supposed to be looking at it to make that determination. The other thing is, if you look in last week's packet, they provided an annual report, which they're required to do as part of their operation and maintenance permit. They're required to provide an annual report. I sent some comments back on that, because, yeah, I mean, I can share with you the contents of that, and that might be the step number one for me to just share an email with what the contents of that is. But yeah, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds because everyone's tired, but I had some questions, particularly like, I'll give you one example. The commission had raised some time ago concerns about the composting facility, which is located on East Pleasant Street, particularly because there was leachate from the composting facility draining basically directly into a wetland, which we documented out there on a site visit for a different project. And they had said they were going to look at it and come back to us with some kind of plan or whatever. In that monitoring report, it says the problem was fixed. It says we fixed the problem. And I'm like, well, when? We never got notified that work was happening. It's right next to a vernal pool. It's right next to a wetland. Can you give me more detail? What happened? When did it happen? I got zero response. And then, I mean, so that's just one example, but I can share the email with you guys and you can take a look at it before the next meeting.
Yeah, and we should get to the bottom of what the law is about how much say we have over what they do, basically, which I can try to help you with, Aaron. It might need council help a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's anything having to do with the wetlands.
I mean, that's what it should be,
Well, that's what it is. It's the problem is that they're skirting around it.
right. So if they're doing that, we need to just be really firm with them.
Yeah. Jason?
Aaron, are they a designated phase 2 MS4?
Yes, they have their own MS4.
And are we a phase 1? Or are we a phase 2?
So I don't know okay, they have a separate MS4 than the town of Amherst. I'm not sure what phase of MS4 they fall under. I know some towns are a certain phase.
I would imagine that they and us are both phase 2.
I believe that that's correct, but I don't want to say definitively. I believe that that's correct.
Okay. Who reviews all of that? All of their stormwater management, post-construction stormwater controls and BMPs, hydromod, all of that. Who reviews any of that?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay. I'd be curious to know if anybody's actually looking at any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have had zero, other than, I haven't reviewed anybody's MS4 information, not Town of Amherst, not UMass. I know that we have, that we are preparing and putting it together and, to be in compliance, but I have not, it's not been shared with me. So I'm not sure.
All right.
All right. Well, that's some more work that we need to be doing. I agree with Bruce and Sarah that this has gone on for a long time, and I think we've seen way too many mix-ups that have happened, and that we need to avoid in the future with UMass.
Can I,
Um,
sorry, Andre, just one last quick little thing. I attempted to rapidly determine, and maybe Jason knows the answer, who are the town councilors who are responsible for UMass? Because it's such a big area and there's counselors all around. But whoever they are, we may want to have a meeting with them and explain our frustration about this, the way that the entity that they are in charge of, or from the town's point of view, is behaving. And maybe that would help in some way. I don't know. Maybe it would just make it more muddy. But I couldn't figure out rapidly who they are. And there's at least 4 of them. So thank you.
I think almost every counselor is supposed to have a small chunk of UMass in their
Well, then
representative
we could go to a
districts.
council meeting writ large, and just ask for some time at the council meeting and say, this is untenable.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody's done a good job here again tonight. Thanks everyone for your 2 cents. So, Aaron, if you can report back to Dave that we want to make sure to get the Beaver protocol that we're going to get put together. We would like to see the mowing plan, including the original draft. Frankly, I feel like we should be asking Brad, who's the one who goes out there and mows, what it is that they, what he's been using as a guide in the past, for what he's mowing, just to get an idea how, if it's going to be a drastic change or not. But it might be good to talk to Brad. I don't know. Any other thoughts on bringing Brad out and asking him about his mowing? All right. And I'd like an explanation at next meeting uh, about the wetland filing fees, and what access for the fees fund we have, because I think there's some things that we could use. Yeah, just to think about the fact that most of us are not trained. That should be something that you know, by the time I'm gone someday, every new person coming in gets their training and gets online so that they know what their job is here. Anyway, if you can get that back to Dave, that would be great. And that's it. Is there any public comment? Since we're here, I can't.
There's nobody there.
No one participants but us. No one's been there? No one's interested? Okay, well, folks, with that, then we would be looking for. By the way, there are other commissions, etc., and the town council where the chairperson makes motions. I don't know why but I was always told here the chairperson doesn't make a motion. Anyway, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. But
I move we adjourn.
I second. Oh,
So I think
No,
Rachel
I
with the
yield to
second.
Rachel.
oh,
Yeah,
thanks,
Rachel.
Bruce.
Got the motion, Rachel with the second. Rachel,
Aye.
Sarah,
Bye.
Bruce,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and I'm an I. Thank you all, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Bye.
good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. Good night.